My name is Ethan Crawford. I'm 32 years old, living in Portland, Oregon, working as a software architect for a mid-sized tech company. Portland, with its misty mornings and coffee-scented streets, should feel like home. But lately, it's felt more like a place I'm just passing through, especially after what happened last month at my sister's wedding. I grew up in Salem, about an hour south of here, in what most people would call a normal middle-class family. My father, David Crawford, runs a small accounting firm. My mother, Patricia, teaches elementary school. My younger sister, Emma, just got married to her college sweetheart, and my older brother, Jake, works in construction. On paper, we're the American dream. But families, I've learned, are complicated puzzles where not every piece fits perfectly. I've always been the quiet one, the middle child who preferred books to sports, coding to parties. While Jake dominated high school football and Emma charmed everyone with her outgoing personality, I spent most of my time in my room, building websites and dreaming of Silicon Valley. My parents weren't dismissive, exactly, but they never quite knew what to make of me. When I got into Oregon State for computer science, Dad said, "That's nice, son," in the same tone he'd used to comment on the weather. The distance between my family and me grew wider after college. I moved to Portland, started my career, and visited Salem maybe 3 times a year. Our conversations became surface-level exchanges about work, weather, and weekend plans. I told myself it was normal, that families drift apart as kids grow up, but deep down, I felt like I was slowly becoming invisible to them. Then came Emma's wedding announcement. She called me on a Tuesday evening, her voice bubbling with excitement. "Ethan, we've set the date, June 15th. I want you to be part of the wedding party, maybe give a speech at the reception." I felt a warmth I hadn't experienced in years. Finally, a chance to reconnect, to show my family that I cared, that I was more than just the absent brother who sent birthday cards and showed up for Christmas dinner. I threw myself into wedding preparations with an enthusiasm that surprised even me. I helped Emma research venues, spent weekends driving around Oregon looking at reception halls, and even learned basic photography to help capture her engagement photos. When she mentioned wanting a custom website for their wedding, I spent 3 weeks building something beautiful, an interactive site with their love story, photo galleries, and an RSVP system that integrated with their registry. "Ethan, this is incredible," Emma said when I showed her the finished product. "You're so talented. I can't believe you did all this for us." For the first time in years, I felt truly needed by my family. The wedding was set for a Saturday afternoon at a vineyard outside Salem. The week before, I took vacation time and drove down to help with final preparations. I stayed at my parents' house, sleeping in my old room with its faded posters and dusty computer manuals. Mom made my favorite lasagna, and Dad actually asked about my work. Real questions, not just polite small talk. "You know, son," he said over dinner, "I never really understood what you do with computers, but seeing what you built for Emma, that's impressive. You've got a real gift." I went to bed that night feeling more connected to my family than I had in a decade. The morning of the wedding, I woke up early and drove to the vineyard to help set up. The venue was perfect. Rolling hills covered in grapevines, a rustic barn decorated with white flowers and string lights, and a view of the Cascade Mountains in the distance. I spent the morning arranging chairs, testing the sound system, and making sure Emma's website was running smoothly on the tablets guests would use to sign in. Emma looked radiant in her dress, and Jake, despite his usual gruff exterior, was actually tearing up during the father-daughter dance rehearsal. Even Mom, who never showed much emotion, kept dabbing at her eyes with tissues. This is going to be perfect, I thought to myself as I adjusted the microphone at the altar. The ceremony began at 4 o'clock. I stood with the wedding party, watching Emma walk down the aisle on Dad's arm. The officiant spoke about love, commitment, and the importance of family. When he asked if anyone objected to the union, there was the traditional moment of silence, followed by nervous laughter from the crowd. Then came the reception. Dinner was served as the sun set behind the mountains, casting everything in golden light. I sat at the family table between my parents and Jake's wife, Sarah. The conversation flowed easily. Stories about Emma's childhood, jokes about her terrible cooking in college, predictions about married life. After dinner, the DJ announced it was time for speeches. Dad went first, delivering a heartfelt tribute to his little girl. Jake followed with a mix of embarrassing childhood stories and genuine emotion. Then Mom stood up, her voice shaking as she talked about watching Emma grow into a beautiful woman. I waited for my name to be called. Emma had specifically asked me to speak, and I'd spent weeks crafting what I thought was the perfect speech. Funny but touching, personal but appropriate for the crowd. I kept checking my notes, mentally rehearsing my opening line. But the DJ moved on to the cake cutting. I figured maybe they were saving me for later, perhaps after the first dance. Emma and her new husband swayed to At Last by Etta James while guests watched from their tables. I caught Emma's eye and smiled, pointing to my jacket pocket where my speech was folded. She smiled back, but something in her expression seemed distant. The dancing continued. I asked Mom to dance, then Jake's wife, then a few of Emma's college friends. Each time I returned to my table, I expected someone to tap the microphone and call for one more speech. But it never happened. Around 10 o'clock, as the evening was winding down, I approached Emma near the gift table. She was glowing, surrounded by friends and family offering congratulations. "Emma," I said, gently touching her arm, "should I give my speech now? I know it's getting late, but I'd love to say a few words." She turned to me, and for a moment I saw something flicker across her face. Surprise, maybe even confusion. "Oh, Ethan," she said, her voice soft but strained. "I'm so sorry. We decided to keep the speeches just to immediate family. You know, parents and siblings who were in the wedding party." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. "But I am your sibling. You asked me to give a speech months ago." Emma glanced around nervously as if looking for an escape route. I know. But Jake was already speaking, and we didn't want too many speeches. People get restless, you know. But you had Mom speak, and she wasn't in the wedding party either." "That's different," Emma said, her voice taking on a defensive edge. "She's the mother of the bride." I stood there, speech in hand, feeling like I was shrinking. Around us, the party continued. Laughter, music, the clink of glasses. But I felt completely separate from it all, like I was watching through a window. "I understand," I said quietly, though I didn't understand at all. I folded the speech and put it back in my pocket. Emma's expression softened. "Ethan, you've been such a huge help with everything. The website, the setup, all of it. We're so grateful. Grateful. Like I was a vendor who'd provided good service." I excused myself and walked outside. The vineyard was beautiful in the moonlight, but I couldn't appreciate it. I sat on a wooden bench near the parking lot and pulled out my phone, scrolling through the photos I'd taken throughout the day. In every family group shot, I was there, but somehow peripheral, standing slightly apart, smiling but not quite connected to the cluster of people around me. I thought about the speech in my pocket. I'd written about growing up with Emma, about how proud I was of the woman she'd become, about the importance of family, and how love multiplies when shared. I'd planned to tell the story of teaching her to ride a bike when she was 7, how she'd scraped her knee and I'd carried her home, promising her ice cream if she stopped crying. Now those words felt hollow, like artifacts from a relationship that existed more in my memory than in reality. Jake found me there 20 minutes later. "Hey, little brother, you okay?" I looked up at him. Big, broad-shouldered Jake who'd never struggled to find his place in anything. "Just getting some air." He sat down beside me, loosening his tie. "Hell of a party, huh?" Emma looked beautiful. Yeah, she did. We sat in comfortable silence for a moment, listening to the muffled sounds of celebration from inside the barn. "You know," Jake said finally, "I saw you had some notes earlier. Were you planning to give a speech?" I nodded, not trusting my voice. Jake was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "That sucks, man. I'm sorry." It was such a simple response, but it meant everything. Someone had noticed. Someone acknowledged that I'd been hurt. "I spent weeks writing it," I said, pulling the folded paper from my pocket. Probably rewrote it a dozen times. "What did you want to say?" I looked at the speech, now wrinkled from being folded and unfolded. "Just that I love her, that I'm proud of her, that family matters." Jake put his hand on my shoulder. "She knows that, Ethan. We all do." But did they? Because sitting there on that bench, I felt like I'd been slowly fading from my family's story, becoming less essential with each passing year. Not excluded exactly, but not quite included either. The next morning, I helped clean up the venue, stacking chairs and packing decorations into boxes. Emma hugged me goodbye, thanking me again for all my help. Mom and Dad did the same, and I drove back to Portland with a car full of wedding favors and a heart full of questions. Over the next few weeks, I found myself thinking constantly about that night. I analyzed every interaction, every conversation, looking for clues about when I'd started becoming an outsider in my own family. Was it when I moved to Portland? When I stopped coming home for every holiday? Or had it been a gradual process, so slow that none of us noticed it happening? I threw myself into work, staying late at the office and taking on extra projects. My colleagues probably thought I was gunning for a promotion, but really, I was just trying to avoid going home to my empty apartment where I'd inevitably start overthinking family dynamics. Then, 3 weeks after the wedding, something happened that changed everything. I was working late on a Thursday evening when my phone rang. The caller ID showed my grandmother's nursing home in Salem. My heart immediately started racing. Grandma Rose was 93 and had been declining for months. "Mr. Crawford?" The voice was professional but gentle. "This is Linda from Sunset Manor. I'm calling about your grandmother." "Is she okay?" "She's stable, but she had a fall this afternoon. Nothing broken, but she's asking for you specifically. She's been quite agitated, saying she needs to talk to Ethan. Would you be able to visit tomorrow?" I was already reaching for my car keys. "I'll be there tonight." The drive to Salem felt longer than usual, my mind racing with worry. Grandma Rose had always been my favorite family member, the one who remembered my birthday without Facebook reminders, who asked detailed questions about my work, who still sent me handwritten letters even though her arthritis made writing painful. When I arrived at Sunset Manor, the night nurse led me to Grandma's room. She was awake, propped up in bed with a small bandage on her forehead. "Ethan!" Her face lit up when she saw me. "Oh, sweetheart, I'm so glad you came." I pulled a chair close to her bed and took her hand. "How are you feeling, Grandma?" "Oh, I'm fine. Just took a little tumble, but I needed to see you." Her grip tightened on my hand. "There's something I need to tell you, something important." "What is it?" She looked around the room as if making sure we were alone, then leaned closer. "It's about your family, dear, about why you've always felt different." My heart stopped. "What do you mean?" Grandma Rose reached into her nightstand drawer and pulled out an old manila envelope, yellowed with age. "I've been carrying this secret for 32 years, and I can't take it to my grave. You deserve to know the truth." With shaking hands, she opened the envelope and pulled out a birth certificate. But it wasn't mine, at least not the one I'd always known. This one had different names in the parent fields. "Ethan," she said softly, "David and Patricia aren't your biological parents." The world seemed to tilt sideways. I stared at the document, trying to process what I was seeing. My name was there, Ethan Michael Crawford, but under father it listed someone named Thomas Mitchell. Under mother, Sarah Mitchell. "I don't understand," I whispered. Grandma Rose squeezed my hand. "Your biological mother was my daughter, David's sister. Her name was Sarah, and she was the sweetest girl you'd ever meet. She got pregnant when she was just 19, still in college. The father was a boy named Thomas who disappeared the moment he found out about the baby." I felt like I was underwater, everything muffled and strange. "David's sister?" "Sarah was terrified to tell her parents, your biological grandparents. They were very strict, very religious. She came to me, crying, asking what to do. I helped her through the pregnancy, but she knew she couldn't raise a baby alone. She was so young, had no money, no support system except me." Grandma Rose paused, her eyes filling with tears. "David and Patricia had been trying to have children for 3 years with no success. When Sarah found out she was pregnant, I suggested they take you, raise you as their own. So I'm adopted? Not legally, no. David signed the birth certificate as your father. Legally, you're his son. But biologically," she trailed off, letting me fill in the blank. I sat there in stunned silence, pieces of my life suddenly clicking into place. Why I'd always felt different. Why I looked nothing like David or Patricia. Why I'd never quite fit in with Jake and Emma, who were David and Patricia's biological children. "What happened to Sarah?" I asked. Grandma Rose's face crumpled. She died in a car accident when you were 6 months old. She never got to see you grow up, never got to know the wonderful man you became. I felt tears streaming down my face, though I wasn't sure if I was crying for Sarah, for myself, or for the family I thought I'd known. Does anyone else know? David and Patricia, of course. I don't think they ever told Jake or Emma. They wanted you to feel like a real part of the family, not adopted or different. But I had felt different, every day of my life. Why are you telling me this now? I asked. Grandma Rose struggled to sit up straighter. Because I see how you've been pulling away from the family, how you don't feel like you belong. At Emma's wedding, I watched you, sweetheart. I saw the hurt in your eyes when they didn't let you give your speech. I realized that keeping this secret isn't protecting you anymore. It's isolating you. She pulled another item from the envelope, a small photo of a young woman with dark hair and kind eyes. This is your mother, Sarah. She would have loved you so much, Ethan. She wanted you to have a good life, a family who would cherish you. I stared at the photo, looking for pieces of myself in her features. There, around the eyes, the shape of the smile, features I'd never seen in David or Patricia. I know this is a lot to process, Grandma Rose continued, but I want you to understand something important. David and Patricia may not be your biological parents, but they chose to raise you. They chose to love you. That has to count for something. I nodded, though I wasn't sure how I felt about anything anymore. There's one more thing, she said, reaching back into the envelope. Sarah left you a letter. She wrote it when she was pregnant, just in case something happened to her. My hands shook as I took the sealed envelope with my name written in careful script. Inside was a single sheet of paper covered in the same handwriting. My dearest Ethan, it began, if you're reading this, it means I'm not there to tell you these things myself. I want you to know that you were not an accident or a mistake. You were a gift, a light in a very dark time of my life. I may not be able to raise you, but I hope whoever does will help you understand how wanted and loved you are. I couldn't read any further through my tears. Grandma Rose and I talked until nearly midnight. She told me stories about Sarah, how she'd wanted to be a teacher, how she'd loved to paint, how she'd spent hours talking to me when I was still in her womb. She showed me more photos, a few of Sarah's paintings that she'd kept, and a small silver bracelet that had belonged to my biological mother. When I finally left the nursing home, my head was spinning with revelations and questions. I drove home to Portland in a daze, pulling over twice just to sit and process what I'd learned. Everything made sense now. Why I'd always felt like an outsider. Why my interests and personality were so different from the rest of the family. Why Jake and Emma had such an easy connection with David and Patricia while I'd always struggled to relate to them. But it also raised new questions. Had David and Patricia ever really loved me? Or had I always been an obligation? Did Jake and Emma know, and if not, should I tell them? How do you rebuild relationships based on a foundation you've just discovered was built on secrets? Over the next few days, I called in sick to work and barely left my apartment. I read Sarah's letter dozens of times, memorizing every word. I stared at her photo, trying to imagine what my life might have been like if she'd lived. I found myself angry, at David and Patricia for never telling me, at Grandma Rose for waiting so long, at Sarah for dying and leaving me with strangers. But mostly, I felt lost. The family I'd spent 32 years trying to connect with suddenly felt even more foreign. How do you confront parents who aren't really your parents about why they never made you feel truly loved? How do you explain to siblings who aren't really your siblings that you finally understand why you never quite belonged? On Sunday morning, I made a decision. I needed to talk to David and Patricia, not to accuse or blame, but to understand, to finally have the honest conversation we'd never had. I drove to Salem and found them in their usual Sunday routine. David reading the paper on the back porch, Patricia tending to her garden. They looked up when I arrived, surprised to see me. Ethan, Patricia wiped her hands on her gardening gloves. What a nice surprise. We weren't expecting you. I sat down across from David, my heart pounding. I need to talk to you both about something important. Something in my tone must have alerted them because Patricia immediately stopped what she was doing and joined us on the porch. I visited Grandma Rose on Thursday, I began. She told me about Sarah. The color drained from both their faces. Patricia's hand flew to her throat, and David carefully set down his newspaper. She told you, David said quietly. It wasn't a question. Why didn't you ever tell me? Patricia and David exchanged a long look, the kind of wordless communication that comes from decades of marriage. We wanted to, Patricia said finally. Especially when you were younger and asking questions about why you looked different, why you were interested in different things. But every time we started to bring it up, it felt like we'd be telling you that you weren't really ours. But I wasn't, I said. I'm not. David leaned forward, his voice intense. Ethan, you are our son, maybe not biologically, but in every way that matters. We raised you, we worried about you, we celebrated your successes and supported you through your struggles. Did you? I asked, because I've spent my entire life feeling like I was on the outside looking in, like I was never quite good enough, never quite what you wanted. Patricia's eyes filled with tears. Oh, sweetheart, that was never true. We love you so much. Then why didn't Jake and Emma feel that distance? Why do they fit so naturally into this family while I've always struggled? The question hung in the air between us. David rubbed his face with his hands, suddenly looking much older than his 62 years. I think, he said slowly, we were so afraid of treating you differently that we ended up treating you differently anyway. We were terrified that if we pushed too hard or got too involved, you'd figure out the truth and reject us. So we held back, gave you space, let you find your own way. But that space felt like indifference, I said. It felt like you didn't care as much about me as you did about Jake and Emma. Patricia reached across the table and took my hand. We cared so much we were paralyzed by it. Every parenting decision felt loaded. Were we being fair? Were we overcompensating? Were we doing right by Sarah's memory? Sarah would have wanted you to treat me like your own son, I said, not like a house guest you were afraid to offend. We talked for hours that afternoon. They told me about the early years, how they'd agonized over every milestone, wondering if they were doing right by me. They shared their fears and regrets, their love and confusion. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was having a real conversation with them. Not polite small talk, but honest, emotional truth-telling. What about Jake and Emma? I asked. Do they know? No, David said. We decided early on that it should be your choice whether to tell them. We didn't want them treating you differently either. I thought about that. Jake and Emma had never treated me badly exactly, but there had always been a subtle distance, like they instinctively knew I was different even if they couldn't articulate why. As the sun was setting, I made another decision. I want to tell them. I think it's time everyone knew the truth. Patricia looked worried. Are you sure? Once it's out there, you can't take it back. I'm sure. I'm tired of secrets. I'm tired of feeling like I don't belong. We called Jake and Emma, asking them to come over for a family meeting. They both arrived within an hour, curious and slightly concerned. Is everything okay? Emma asked, settling onto the couch next to her husband. I looked around the living room at these people who had shaped my entire life. David and Patricia, who had raised me despite their fears and uncertainties. Jake, who had always been protective of me even when we didn't have much in common. Emma, who had included me in her wedding plans even if she hadn't let me give my speech. There's something you both need to know about me, I began. Something that might explain why I've always been a little different. I told them everything. About Sarah, about the circumstances of my birth, about the secret that had shaped our family dynamics for 32 years. Jake listened with his arms crossed, his expression unreadable. Emma cried quietly, holding her husband's hand. When I finished, the room was silent except for the ticking of the grandfather clock in the corner. Finally, Jake spoke. So you're our cousin, not our brother? Biologically, yes, but I've been your brother for 32 years. That doesn't change just because we know the truth now. Emma wiped her eyes. I feel terrible about the speech at my wedding. If I'd known you were dealing with all this. You couldn't have known, I said. And honestly, that's part of why I needed to tell you. I've been feeling disconnected from this family for years, and now I understand why. but I don't want to feel that way anymore. What do you want from us? Jake asked, and I could hear the genuine concern in his voice. I want us to start over, I said. I want to build real relationships based on honesty instead of secrets. I want to stop feeling like I'm on the outside of this family. Patricia spoke up from her chair by the window. What can we do differently? It was such a simple question, but it felt revolutionary. For the first time, someone was asking what I needed instead of assuming they knew. Include me, I said. Really include me. Don't be afraid to push back when I'm being stubborn or distant. Don't treat me like I'm fragile or different. Treat me like family. Emma stood up and crossed the room, pulling me into a tight hug. I'm sorry about the speech, she whispered. I was trying to keep things simple, but I hurt you instead. It's okay, I said, and for the first time, I meant it. Jake joined the hug, his big arms wrapping around both of us. You're stuck with us now, little brother, cousin, whatever. You're family. That night, I stayed for dinner. Really stayed, not just making polite conversation before finding an excuse to leave early. We talked about everything and nothing. Jake told embarrassing stories about his construction crew. Emma shared details about married life. David asked detailed questions about my work projects, and Patricia showed genuine interest in my answers. For the first time in years, I felt like I belonged at that table. Over the following months, our family dynamic slowly shifted. David started calling me more often, not just for holidays or obligations, but to share news or ask for advice. Patricia sent me care packages with homemade cookies and newspaper clippings she thought I'd find interesting. Jake invited me to help with a renovation project at his house, and we spent weekends working together, talking about everything from sports to relationships to our childhood memories. Emma asked me to give a speech at her first anniversary party, a small gathering in their backyard where I finally got to share the words I'd written about family and love and the importance of showing up for each other. The most surprising change was with Grandma Rose. Knowing that she was actually my great-grandmother, not just my step-grandmother, deepened our connection. She shared more stories about Sarah, helped me understand the woman who had given me life even though she couldn't raise me. I also started researching Thomas Mitchell, my biological father. It took months of internet searching and phone calls, but I eventually tracked him down to a small town in Colorado. He was married with 2 kids, working as a high school English teacher. When I called him, he was shocked to hear from me. I wondered about you for years, he admitted during our first phone conversation. But I was young and scared, and I convinced myself that you were better off without me. We've been corresponding via email, taking things slowly. He's not ready for a face-to-face meeting yet, and honestly, neither am I. But knowing he exists, knowing he thinks about me, helps fill in another piece of the puzzle that is my identity. The most profound change, though, has been internal. I no longer feel like I'm pretending to be part of a family that doesn't quite want me. I understand now that the distance I felt wasn't because David and Patricia loved me less, but because they loved me differently, carefully, fearfully, like something precious that might break if handled wrong. Jake and Emma have started including me in sibling group texts, random photos, and inside jokes that make me feel connected to their daily lives. When Jake's wife had their first baby last month, I was one of the first people he called. When Emma got a promotion at work, she texted me before she even told our parents. These might seem like small things, but they represent a fundamental shift in how we relate to each other. I'm no longer the polite outsider who gets invited to major events. I'm the brother who gets included in the mundane, everyday moments that actually build relationships. 6 months after learning the truth about my parentage, I hosted Thanksgiving dinner at my apartment in Portland. It was the first time I'd ever hosted a major family gathering, and I was nervous about everything from the turkey to the seating arrangements. But as I watched David carving the turkey while Patricia fussed over the side dishes, as Jake told stories that made Emma laugh until she snorted, as everyone argued good-naturedly about football and politics and whether the cranberry sauce was too sweet, I felt something I'd never experienced before, complete belonging. After dinner, as we were cleaning up, Emma pulled me aside. "Thank you for this," she said. for bringing us all together, for being brave enough to tell us the truth, for not giving up on us even when we didn't know how to love you right. Thank you for letting me in, I replied, really in this time. As I write this, it's been a year since Grandma Rose shared the secret that changed everything. She passed away peacefully in her sleep 3 months ago, but not before seeing our family come back together. At her funeral, I spoke about the courage it takes to tell difficult truths, about the woman who refused to let secrets poison the relationships she cared about. I still have Sarah's letter, along with her photos and the small silver bracelet. I've hung one of her paintings in my living room, a landscape of rolling hills that reminds me of the vineyard where Emma got married. Sometimes I talk to her, telling her about my life, thanking her for the sacrifice she made in giving me to David and Patricia. I've learned that family isn't just about DNA or legal documents or shared last names. It's about choice and commitment and showing up for each other, even when it's hard. David and Patricia chose to raise me when they could have said no. Jake and Emma chose to embrace me as their brother when they learned the truth. I chose to fight for these relationships instead of walking away when they felt too difficult. My advice to anyone who feels like they don't quite fit in their family: don't give up. Relationships are complicated, and sometimes the distance you feel isn't about rejection or lack of love. Sometimes it's about fear or misunderstanding or secrets that nobody knows how to share. Have the hard conversations. Ask the difficult questions. Be willing to be vulnerable, even when it's scary. Truth has a way of healing wounds you didn't even know existed. I'm still Ethan Crawford, still a software architect in Portland, still the quiet one who prefers books to parties. But now I know where I came from, and more importantly, I know where I belong. I belong with this messy, imperfect, wonderful family who chose to love me before they even knew they were making that choice. And that, I've learned, is the most beautiful kind of belonging there is.